Hey everyone, Doc Storm here again with you today. So, you guys, if you remember, I talked about giant decks being very popular. So, you know what? I decided to give it a try. So, I leveled my giant to a respectable level for Legendary Arena, level 7, and then I built this deck. Normally, it will work with the Hog Rider also, but you know, I want to try the Giant since it's been so popular, and it does bring back a nostalgic factor because you probably like me, we used to play Giants back in the lower arena levels. So without further ado, let's take a look at this one against an air deck, okay? So here it's great again with the Elixir Collector. So it's always good to play when you have it in the beginning, but make sure people don't rush you right away. So I made sure, then I laid it down. So it reveals that my opponent has a giant, so not a problem. We face it like a normal giant deck at this point. So you place the defensive structure in the middle, you try to lure that giant to the cannon, right, to buy yourself some time, and boom, he revealed a balloon. Now, note that I delayed my musketeer placement just a little bit because what you want to do is separate the two troops and deal with them separately. You want the mini P.E.K.K.A. to deal with the giant, but you want to make sure that your musketeer is actually targeting the balloon, because if the musketeer targets the giant, you are done for. So make sure you place the musketeer closer to the balloon so that it actually engages the balloon and not the giant itself, okay? So here, great play by my opponent. It makes me waste my poison spell and also lay my musketeer early. So because of that, I wanted to back her up with my mini P.E.K.K.A. It's great that my opponent used the giant because this kind of screws up his combination a little bit. Now he has to wait for the giant to come back into rotation before he can play that same combination. So that is great. So here again, I just pretty much recycled my strategy. I put the Elixir Collector to the healthy tower side, so in case they use spells, they don't damage my weakened tower already. So in this case, that's exactly what my opponent did. So again, if you look at my cards, I'm bound to push because I don't have any elixir collectors and my opponent isn't pushing, so I have to engage with the push. And again, it's great to put the giant at the back, buy yourself some time, and also it reveals what your opponent does play. So my opponent plays a giant and he tries to pull off the same combination, but not a problem. I waited for my minion placement again, so you guys make sure that's crucial, the placement with your anti-air targets to deal with the balloon, because if the balloon gets too close to your tower, you're done for. So the minion placement was key. Since my musketeer was already engaged with the giant, I had to make sure the minions was actually targeting the balloon, so sometimes you just have to hold off on it. So another great play by my opponent with the barbs. It kind of cleared out my back line quite a bit. Now notice how much damage that giant is doing to that king tower. So now my opponent again does the same thing, and I do the exact same thing. I make sure my mini P.E.K.K.A. locks onto the giant. I make sure my minions lock onto the balloon, and then right when my musketeer is back up, I place her down to target the balloon again. So now look at how much hit points the king tower has left. It's quite low. So the giant is very powerful if you don't leave it, if you leave it unchecked, and it just keeps damaging you. And then why I played the Elixir Collector up top was just again to prevent my opponent from pushing me during the last couple of seconds. So there you have it, guys. So I'm going to show you another replay first, so you guys can see how the giant deck works. So again here, facing some level 4, pretty much an all epic and legendary deck. So let's take a look. So again, this was a very close battle, so that's why I wanted to show you this one as well. Another strong opponent. So very bad start for me. He plays the large P.E.K.K.A. and look at my starting hand. There was absolutely nothing better to play. I didn't have my giant. I didn't have my elixir collector, so I was forced to place the cannon. At least that provides a little bit of value, because if I play the mini P.E.K.K.A. or the musketeer too early, it was just gotten demolished by the big P.E.K.K.A. there. So I'm in a bit of rough shape. My zap spell was a little late because I didn't have enough elixir. So here, bam, my opponent plays a freeze. Very well played by him. I'm safe to play my minions though because the baby dragon is locked onto my tower. So I'm down one tower. It's not a good start again, but again, guys, you cannot give up in this game. You live and you learn. Now that I know what cards my opponent has in general, I'm going to deal with it effectively. So far, my opponent hasn't revealed a spell, but what I do anyways is to put the elixir collector to the other far side of the end there, because most likely what my opponent will be doing is rushing that my remaining tower. So that elixir collector should be pretty safe. Because my opponent played the P.E.K.K.A, I knew he was a little bit elixir starved relative to me, so I made for a push because I needed this one. And it's great that I have my zap clear out the goblins, and then here my musketeer and giant will do the job, take out that tower, balances the game out a little bit, but I have to be very careful because they have a lot of units alive to counterattack me. The minions did quite a bit of damage. I put that mini P.E.K.K.A at the back. You guys know that's my favorite move. Try to bring their units backwards a little bit. Gives me some more time to defend. Opponent revealed a hog, so quite a tricky deck at this point. I was debating on playing my zap so that the hog rider didn't get that hit off, but I was like, wait a minute, you know what? My musketeer is going to be left over. I'd rather save some elixir for a big push here. And then great play by my opponent again. He plays the P.E.K.K.A to really damage and kill off my giant without him doing too much damage. Again, minions do quite a lot of damage if you don't kill it. Look at the P.E.K.K.A there. And so, again, I have to make sure I defend this one well. I put the cannon in the middle because, again, it lures that big P.E.K.K.A to the middle. And I place the mini P.E.K.K.A on the other side because, as you can see now, the P.E.K.K.A is going towards the other side. Great news. Buys me a lot of time to deal with him. So I put my musketeer at the back so I can shoot that P.E.K.K.A. And also I put him closer to the side of my damage tower. So if he is left alive, he can go for a attack on the lane that I wanted to. So guys, you have to use your troops very wisely. You cannot waste your troops at all. So here, look at my musketeer, almost full health. And then I can actually do a push after my counter push. A big heavy one here. So it seems like it's going pretty well at this point. I still have my two musketeer and my mini P.E.K.K.A. Too bad he wasn't able to land that final hit, but not a problem. Still in there, and I have 3 elixir collectors up. That is great value in terms of elixir advantage there. So again, I counter it as best as I can, and then bam, go for a big counter attack. And at this point, I think I knew I had it in the bag, but you still had to be careful at this point. So I clear the path for my mini P.E.K.K.A, but I think my giant's going to do the job, and I lay the poison there just for insurance, and then there you have it, guys. So the giant is actually quite a powerful alternative for people that don't want to use a hog deck, don't want to use a royal giant deck. One thing about giant decks is this: because giants are slow, there is an advantage and a disadvantage, right? Because if you are attacking someone else, they can totally take advantage of the situation that my giant is slow. They can rush my other lane or even go for a 3-star before my giant can even reach a tower. But the good thing about the giant is what I did. I place him at the back so it takes his time to walk up. That way I can build up more elixir to go for a big push. With giant decks, it is very possible to 3-star an opponent, versus hog decks, usually you're scraping for that 1 tower win. So with giant decks, don't be afraid if you lose a tower. You can make a huge comeback just like I showed you in that video with giant decks. So don't ever lose hope when you're playing this game. Learn from your mistakes, learn what your opponent does, learn what cards he has, and then you just have to battle them that way. So another thing I want to mention about this deck here is if you guys are lucky enough to have the Ice Wizard, you can definitely sub the Ice Wizard for the minion or the musketeer in this deck, because it is viable for you to do so. The minions at this point, I think I use it more for a defensive purpose, which the Ice Wizard does as well. And then one good thing about the Ice Wizard is he is always left over after a counterattack. So that brings them tremendous value when you go for a counterattack. And why you could sub the Musketeer for the Wizard is similar purpose. Musketeer does do a lot of damage though if you face like air decks like Balloons and Lava Hounds, so sometimes it is good to have the Musketeer instead. So I would play around with that, maybe sub, as I said, the Ice Wizard for the Minion or the Musketeer. One thing this deck is weak about right now is, you notice here, I don't really have anything to treat or kill swarms of things. Like if they play a spawner deck, if they play barbarians, you see that I have a little bit of trouble there. The only thing I have to deal with them is pretty much my poison spell, which kind of acts slowly, so if you need it for that initial defense, it's not as great. So again, the Ice Wizard substitute would help with dealing with decks like that. So if you're lucky enough, definitely get it. I'm waiting in the shop. As you see, I have 31,000 gold. You need 40,000 to buy a legendary, but you also see here, I finally collected 747 gems without purchasing any gems, of course. So I can go down and buy my 10,000 gold bucket of gold to buy my legendary that, well, if it shows up, Ice Wizard. That's one legendary that I'm really looking forward to. I have to thank the Supercell and Clash Royale gods for giving me the Miner and the Princess. They are very, very strong legendaries, and I'm glad that those are the ones I have. And as you know from the legendary glitch, gave me the Sparky too, but not a big fan of that as of now. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to show you guys more decks, more gameplays, and so you guys can be more successful at this game. So guys, take care and clash on.